Okay, so today we're going to work on replacing the front crankshaft seal on this MINICooper. The dealer told the customer that it is supposedly leaking. We're going to find out here shortly. We had some trouble finding the customer's wheel lock key. It was not in any of the usual places. And when I mean usual places, I'm talking about door pockets, cup holders, secret compartment, glove box. If we go around to the back, tray's missing back here. It usually holds it. Nothing in these side compartments on either side. Nothing in the rear kind of cup holders. So when that happens, we call the customer and ask the customer where their wheel lock key is. And in this case, the customer said it was under the passenger front seat. Kind of an odd place to put that in my opinion, but let's take a look and see if it is there. Let's see, slid all the way back, reaching under here. Oh, yep, what do you know? There it is, wheel lock keys. And they're soaking wet. And you can see that moisture on there. So, that being said, we're going to do a sunroof drain clean on this car as well. But now we can at least get the wheels off. Is going to, right now Spencer is going to take off the wheel locks that this car has, and obviously the wheel. With this kind of wheel lock, we always, especially if these are just standard wheels, we like to take them off and put the stock ones back on. These wheel locks are notoriously weak. And so that little key that he's got in his hand right now usually fails after a few times worth of use. What's the matter, Spencer? You can't get it in? I don't think Spencer can get it in.
Not going in, George.
Let's see. So why isn't that wheel lock key going in? Okay, it looks like it's started, so let's just get it sort of set and we'll tap it a little bit. There may just be something stuck in there.
There.
Got it? Okay, there we go. Probably just a little piece of dirt. Real life. This is what actually happens. Okay, so now we got the wheel off. Move that out of the way. Just do a general quick inspection under here. Everything looks pretty darn good. Rotor, no big lip on the rotor or anything like that. We'll do kind of a quick pad inspection and everything once we get it up a little higher in the air. Okay, so now we're going to remove some of these fender liner plastic kind of screw clips. Just pry those out. And that'll allow us to peel back the fender liner a bit and see the belt and crankshaft pulley and crankshaft front seal a lot better. So I believe there's about 4, right, Spencer? 4 that we take out typically?
4 to 5.
4 to 5, and then I believe there's one.
There's one screw top.
Yeah.
Torx 30.
That allows us to just kind of peel that fender liner back enough to get access to everything.
If I remember correctly, you don't need to take that one out, but you got to take that one out.
Above there?
Yes.
Okay, that one is that's a Torx screw up top there. You can see that or not? But I'll usually take that one out as well. Probably a T25 or T20.
T30.
T30? T30. All right.
Oh, yep, this one down below. One more Phillips.
Look down below there, there's a Phillips screw. Just part of the skid plate. We'll just rotate that skid plate out of the way. There we go.
Maybe I'll just take it off. Just got it.
Should we just take it completely off?
There we go.
So now we can peel this underliner back and get a really good view of that crankshaft pulley and front seal area. There we go.
Is that okay?
Yeah. As long as we get there and see things.
Yeah.
All right, so there's our crankshaft pulley. And as you can see, there is some oil leaking down in there around that. So it is probably a good time to replace this pulley. That way the oil doesn't get excessive. So better to catch it early rather than late. So now we'll go ahead and do the process of removing the belt, removing the pulley, removing the seal, and then reinstallation. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to pull the tab that's going to release the tension on the friction wheel. This car has a friction wheel drive system that runs the water pump, and so there's a little tab right there that Spencer is pulling out right now. Can you see okay, Spencer?
Yes, I can.
All right, so you pull that out really far, and there's a little hole in it that latches onto that little lip right there where he's pointing to. And basically when you do that, it keeps the friction wheel detensioned, allowing you to get the belt out easier. There you go, yep. The trick is to remember to put that back in when you're done. That has happened on occasion over the years where we can sometimes forget to put that back in, and then as soon as you start the car, you can hear the belt kind of slapping around. All right, so now that we've got that detention, we're going to use our belt detensioning tool. You see that, Spencer? There you go. So it looks like that. Okay, and we're going to slip that up kind of above the alternator where the tensioner is to release belt tension. Okay, there you go. You see the belt detention? Now Spencer can pull that off the air conditioning compressor. Just get it off of one pulley first, and then you can let the tensioner go and get it.
I gotta get it off this one first.
And I think I noticed some cracks in that belt, Spencer.
I think I saw it too.
We may want to change that belt for our customer as well. So we'll pull this belt completely off the crankshaft pulley because we're taking that crankshaft pulley off. There we go. Watch that plastic bracket right here. This bracket, that holds the air conditioning line. If that bracket fails or comes off or cracks, that air conditioning line will rub on the axle on the passenger side and wear a hole right through it immediately, and you will lose all your air conditioning freon into the atmosphere, and your air conditioning won't work. So always be careful of that when you're working on this. Make sure that that bracket right there is solid. All right, so Spencer, let's take a look at that belt. What do we got here? Any cracks in that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Here,
definitely. There's
here,
one. Yep.
Here.
Cracks all over the place. Okay, so obviously this belt needs to be changed. This customer drives the car about 1,000 miles per year, so he's on our coming once a year plan. So this belt's probably been on there for quite some time. So we're going to change that for him as well. Interestingly enough, when the dealership told him that he needed a crankshaft seal, they didn't say anything about the belt. So that's going to be additional. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to remove that little 10 millimeter screw holding on that air conditioning line plastic bracket. That way we can have some flexibility with that line and move it down. Give it a better clearance to get to the crankshaft pulley bolts. Okay, so now you can see we can kind of move that down a little bit because that bracket moves. So we can kind of pull that down to get those bolts a little easier.
Yes.
And then this looks like this anti-lock brake system, wheel speed sensor line, is falling off. So we're going to put that right back into its little holder right there. That's where it should be. Okay. All right, so now we're going to, what size is that, Spencer?
This is an external T10. External
okay,
torque.
so a Torx 10 T10 socket we're going to use to get these bolts off. And you want to make sure the engine doesn't rotate, so we're using a little battery powered impact wrench to zing those off. Pretty quick and easy, not on with a lot of torque. Like right there's where I can pull the C line down, give us a little better clearance. Oops, drop one. Okay, so once we have those, that crankshaft pulley should come right off now. So you can see here if we grab it, there, just pop right off. So I'll let Spencer pull that out of there now. All right, there we go. Slide that right down the bottom. Okay, and there is the offending leaky culprit, the crankshaft seal. You can see it's leaking all around it, slowly seeping, flinging oil everywhere. So what we're going to do is pry that seal out of there and replace it with a new one. Okay, so now that we have the crankshaft seal off, we're going to put a small Phillips or a flathead screwdriver in here, and we're going to pry outward. So put the screwdriver in and get just right on the lip like that, with some prying action, and you can start to see it come out. You do not want to pry against this part right here, this. You want to pry outward. because if you pry against this and it gets scratched on the inside, it will never seal properly, and you'll have to buy a new collar for that. So now that that's out, you can just pull the rest of it out by hand. There you go. And a little bit of oil will drip, obviously. But yeah, now we can put the new crankshaft seal in after we do a little bit of cleanup. Okay, so now we've got just a little bit of brake cleaner on a rag. We're just going to kind of wipe off the facing surface there. Just make sure that's nice and clean, that we don't introduce any dirt inside there. We're also going to take the rag and just get around the inside lip of that a little bit. Yeah, like that, exactly. Just make sure that's nice and clean for the new seal to go in. You don't want dirt and debris getting in there. All right, so just make sure you got the new seal.
Yep.
So that looks nice and clean. And when we're done, we'll clean off the outside surface around the crankshaft seal. We're just putting the seal in first, so that way we don't wash any of that dirt inside the engine block, or cleaner inside the engine block. Okay, so that little tool helps. That little tool guides the seal in. Okay, that usually comes with a good seal. If you buy a really cheap one, it may not come with this tool, but you definitely want to make sure you have that tool. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll use maybe an extension and a little mallet to kind of push it in around the top. You can use your fingers, like I'm doing here. I'm going to push it in a little bit more. You can do that by hand. Use your thumb. Okay. So that works to get it most of the way, and then we'll just use a little hammer to tap it a little more in. Extension, we're going to do some tapping around the seal. Just get it flush with the engine block. Okay, that's pretty good. So that's pretty flush around the outside. So we're still gonna, it's a little deeper on this side down here than it is up here. So what we're gonna do now is just take a little extension, something a little bit smaller that fits off the lip, and tap it in a little more on this edge, so we get a pretty even insertion with that seal all the way around. Obviously, you don't want one side in further than the other. All right, so we're going to try maybe a smaller extension now, and just very, very light tapping. You go too much, and you'll go too far. There you go. A little bit more. Keep going. Nope, not down there. That's enough. Yep, keep going higher. There you go. Okay, a little more on the top. Keep going. That's good. That's good. Stop. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that. And that looks like it's pretty flush all the way around. So I think we're good there. Now with these seals, they have to sit for 4 hours. So 4 hours without moving the engine or starting the engine. So be aware of that. In order for that seal to kind of mold to the new surface and make a good seal, it has to literally sit for 4 hours. So now we're going to move on to some other things on this vehicle, and in 4 hours we'll come back and put everything back together. Obviously now we have the new crank seal in, seated correctly, and you can see that there's a lot of oil and residue and stuff from where it was leaking and flinging around. So we're just going to do a quick clean, a little spray clean on there. We're going to get a bucket down on the ground so that we catch everything that spills, and then we're going to use some of our cleaner to clean that off. When we do this, we always open at least one door in our shop and turn on our exhaust fan so we get good ventilation. This stuff is, none of this spray stuff is good, or it's toxic, not good for you to breathe, so we're definitely very conscious of that kind of stuff. We're going to basically get a pan down to catch any of that stuff that falls down, and then have good ventilation. So you might be able to hear the fan right now running in the shop. If you look up top there, you can kind of see the outlet for the vent up there at the ceiling. It just helps kind of keep the fume levels down and keep us all healthy and safe. Spencer's going to start spraying in there now, clean that off. Spray a little bit out, let it soak for a second or two, and as we keep spraying, it'll nice and clean. And the other part of the reason we do this is so that on a return visit, we can check and make sure that there's no leaks further coming from this area, and that our job is sound. If we left all that oil there, the next time the customer would come in, we might not have any idea if it's still leaking or not. So this is how we accomplish that. Done doing Now that Spencer got done doing all the cleaning, you can see that it's a really nice clean area, and so the next time the customer comes back, we can double check this again and make sure that there's no additional leaking or our seal is installed correctly and sound. So now we'll just go through the process of putting everything back together and letting it sit for the 4 hours like we talked about previously, so that seal has plenty of time to set in and mold to the crankshaft. Now putting the crankshaft pulley back on, and so like we've talked about previously, it fits on there really easily, and we're just going to finger tighten down all of the 3 Torx bolts to make sure that they're in and there's no cross-threading chance or anything like that. So we'll get them all in and get them all tightened down, and then we'll get the belt back on and then put that bracket bolt back on that holds the air conditioning line. So there's all the bolts started, and then we'll use our little mini impact to snug those all back down again. Alright, so now Spencer is going to put back in the 10mm bolt holding on the air conditioning line bracket. Just remember that that's really critical that that is in there and that is secure. If not, it will fall on this drive shaft here to your left, right there, and just wear a hole right through it. Then you have to replace the line and get a whole air conditioning service again, and that's obviously bad for the environment. Okay, alright, that's nice and solid. Alright, now we'll go through the process of putting the belt on, and we are done. Okay, we're just going to show you the new belt versus the old belt. You can see some of the cracks on the old belt. There's one right there. There's another one right there. Yeah, a couple right there you can easily see. So, and obviously on the new belt, no cracks at all. So nice and solid, ribs are bigger. So yeah, easy fix, good maintenance. Okay, Spencer's now tensioning the belt tensioner again. He's going to slip that new belt up over top of the pulleys. It can be a little difficult sometimes. Obviously much easier if you have the car jacked up or on a lift. So now he's got the belt on the alternator pulley. He's wrapping it around the belt tensioner, and now he's going to get it in position around the crankshaft pulley. And as you can see there, he tensions the belt tensioner again, and then gets it around the air conditioning compressor and the crankshaft. Now it's solid. Done. Not too terrible. Nice new belt. Last him another 60,000 miles. Now that Spencer has the belt fully on, last but not least, the friction wheel tensioner. So we are going to pull it back down and reseat it into its slot. And that way we've got full tension now on the water pump pulley with the belt, and we'll have good water